All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I'm Paul Gillaham, Supervisor of Clinton Township, and on behalf of this community, I'm very proud to welcome all of you to this important gathering this morning. True to form, the work that David Bonior does, whether it was when he represented us in Congress or as an activist for causes bigger than himself, is inspiring, thought-provoking, and always geared towards bringing people together to listen, to learn, and to better understand the needs of those around us and throughout the world. It is an honor to welcome former Congressman David Bonior back to Clinton Township. Throughout his career in Congress and beyond, David has been a tireless advocate for human rights, peace, and for those who bear the burdens of war. As an American of Ukrainian heritage, this mission is also deeply personal for him. His leadership and compassion have helped make today's forum possible. On a personal note, I began my career in public service working for David. He has been a mentor, a friend, and someone whose example continues to influence how I serve this community. And for that, I am very grateful. I also want to extend a heartfelt welcome to the Ukrainian defenders who have joined us today. Thank you for being willing to share your experiences. Your stories remind us that the consequences of war are not confined to history. They are happening today, affecting real people, real families, and entire communities. Thank you for your courage, your sacrifice, and your service. Please know that Clinton Township stands behind you. I also want to warmly welcome our friends from Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 154 in Clinton Township and Chapter 9 here in Detroit. Although I was very young when the Vietnam War conflict was happening, I grew up understanding that many Vietnam veterans returned home without the appreciation and support they had earned through their service. Fortunately, time often brings greater understanding. While we cannot change the past, we can choose how we honor those who served moving forward. Clinton Township is proud to be the home of Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 154, and we value the strong relationship we have with the organization and deeply appreciate the work that you do supporting veterans, educating our community, and ensuring that no veteran is ever forgotten. We also recognize that we all share a responsibility to help right the wrongs of the past by ensuring every veteran is treated with the dignity, respect, and gratitude they have earned. So thank you for your continued service and for all you do for this community. What makes today's gathering so meaningful is that it brings together people from different nations, different generations, and different conflicts. Yet your experience are united by one enduring truth. The effects of war do not end when the fighting stops. This is what today's conversation is about. It's why it's so important. And by listening, learning, and supporting one another, we can help ensure that no veteran ever has to carry those burdens alone. Clinton Township is proud to host this forum, proud to welcome all of you, and proud to stand alongside those who have sacrificed so much in the service of freedom, democracy, and peace. So thank you for your voices, thank you for your stories, and most of all, thank you for your service. My pleasure to introduce Congressman David Bonior.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, for your very kind remarks and your greeting to all of us, especially the veterans. We do appreciate that, and we appreciate, and I'm personally, Paul and I worked together for many years, and I appreciate your service to government, your commitment, and Sarah's as well, who was sitting right next to him, Paul's wife. So we thank you so much for what you do, and you continue to do, and for the fact that you would have this forum. He's a great guy. We have a number of speakers, as you can see up here. And the whole idea of coming together today is a continuation of what we did in Washington, D.C. for 4 days with our Ukrainian brothers and sister who are here with us today. They are the focal point. That's why we're here, to honor them. And I'm going to speak to that in a little bit. But my partner in doing this from Chapter 9, Jack Devine, is next to me. And we have to have a few folks speak because they've got to get up to some meetings in Lansing who are part of the veterans' efforts for here in Michigan today. So, having said that, I want to say one other thing before I yield to my friend Jack, a Vietnam veteran, served his country with great distinction about the same time that I was in the service as well. And he, Jack, by the way, was one of the co-founders of Vietnam Veterans of America, an organization which he will tell you had at one point over 1,000 chapters. He corrected me this morning. I said, we had about 650 chapters. He said, no, we had about 1,000. We're down to 650. So that's quite an accomplishment, 100,000 members belonging to it throughout our country. Jack rose to the second position in Vietnam Veterans of America. He was the vice chair for a number of years as well. I guess I'd introduced him already, but I just wanted you to know that before I do that. I wanted to thank Larry, Neil, and the library people. They've been fabulous. You run a great library system here in the township, and I'm very proud of it. And I've actually toured libraries and did some writing about libraries for the Macomb Daily and other papers. And I'm really impressed by the 3 libraries that we have here in the cooperation with Macomb and Macomb Township and Clinton Township. So, and I'm so thrilled to see all of our veterans, brothers and sisters, and family members of our veterans who have come out tonight. Really, and we were greeted. We walked into the vestibule, and there you all were standing there, and you were in your shirts and outfits and signias, and boy, it was really a nice greeting. I hope my Ukrainian friends appreciated that. I'm sure they did and do. So come on up, Jack, and say a few words.
Thank you, David. When we first decided to have this visit and a forum and establish contacts between the Ukrainian war veterans and Vietnam Veterans of America, I immediately thought of some of the key issues that we have addressed and that the Ukrainians are dealing with now. And 2 of the people who have expertise in certain areas are here, Derek and Eric. But there's a commanders group meeting today at 10 o'clock. So Derek and Eric asked to go on first and maybe go on last at the commanders group. So Derek is a fellow Air Force veteran, as is David. And over the years, he has developed an expertise in the treatments for PTSD, specifically the overuse of medications. So I'm going to have Derek speak first.
First, thanks a lot for having us here today. To our Ukrainian friends, thank you for all that you're doing, fighting on the front lines of democracy. I will not lie. I was a little bit less hawkish, more dovish for sure. Being a veteran, I think you understand the concerns about what comes with war, and our country's pretty good at war, it seems, and so we've been a little more careful on what I've wanting us to get into. But the reality is that you guys are fighting to protect the rest of the world right now, and for your lives and your families. And so I'm honored to be here to hopefully share and help you all, so that way you don't necessarily have to learn the mistakes that we have made and are currently correcting right now in our country. So my name is Derek Blumke. I'm an Air Force veteran. I did 6 years on active duty with the AC-130 Spectre gunships, another 6 years in active duty in the Air National Guard out of Battle Creek. I founded an organization called Student Veterans of America that helps veterans transition to college when they get out of the military. That organization now has 1,600 chapters around the world. It is focused on the transition from military service to college, because like many, when you get out, Jack knows firsthand coming out of the military during the Vietnam period, those going back to World War II, World War I, came out of the service and found a need for a community, and hence where the American Legion was created after World War I, World War II, or excuse me, Spanish-American War, Veterans of Foreign Wars, multiple organizations throughout time. The reality was that veterans need to come together and have some type of community, some connectedness with the comrades that we fought with. And over time, these organizations have come to fight for the benefits, programming, healthcare. These things that we have in the United States are not common in other countries around the world. Canada does not have many of the veterans programs that we have, the GI Bill, among others. Australia, a very different model. The diggers of the enlisted class over there, that's what they call enlisted folks, are diggers, for the reason it sounds like digging and working. And so what we have today is we've got a lot of support for our veteran community here, and I'm certain that that's the response in Ukraine right now, probably far so in levels that I can't even imagine. But as we've gone towards trying to support our community and support the veterans through policies, through laws, through programming, we have made mistakes. And some of those mistakes have been believing that we know everything, that we know everything about the human body. We know everything about science. We've been doing some of these things for a whole 100 years now. So therefore, we must be absolute experts on human anatomy and the world that we live in and the universe of which we exist. The reality is that we don't know a whole lot about anything in mapping of the brain. We're just now starting to understand more, but the reality is I think we're probably a decade off from really truly understanding how we actually function. All that is a long way of getting into this topic. Is I've had a very fortunate and successful career starting Student Veterans of America after the military, working in technology companies in New York City, building national nonprofits, among other things. But I fell into this trap that we hear of so commonly is I was struggling and I got put on a medication, and then one medication became 2, then 3, then 4, and then 6. And then my career was over, my life was falling apart, and all these were primarily mental health medications. It started with Adderall, then I was prescribed Ambien because I couldn't sleep because of the stimulant, and I was prescribed anti-anxiety medication because of the stimulant. And if this sounds familiar, I'd be very interested to hear that, because I suspect that this is probably what's starting to begin or happening there, but I don't know. And so where we're at today is 70% of all veterans at the VA are prescribed a psychiatric medication. This is not to say medications are bad. This is to say that we have a population of veterans that about 35% are diagnosed with a mental health condition, PTSD, depression, whatever it may be. Then of that 35%, double that number is prescribed a medication VA-wide for off-label prescribing. And the reality is many of these medications have risk warnings for suicide. There's a lot of issues that we were not told about with dependency. So addiction is like cocaine is the experiments with rats. The rat pushes the button, the cocaine comes out because cocaine's a good time for the rat. Antidepressants are very different. The rat does not push the button for Zoloft because it's fun, because antidepressants don't have like a euphoric feeling. It's not a drug of abuse, but the body can become dependent upon it. And so the rat pushes the button because the rat, or in my case, myself at the time, this is a terrible analogy. I'm aware as I started talking about this rat, was that the body became dependent upon it, and therefore it needed the medication to not feel like you're breaking down psychologically or physically. And so when I realized I was on these 6 medications, I ended up having to taper myself off of them. It took a year to get off of Zoloft, and I had not been told. And only just several months ago, Secretary Kennedy made an announcement that we're going to be providing actual guidelines and standards for how to safely taper people off of medications, antidepressants, benzodiazepines, and others. Because 40 years after these drugs came to market, only now we're really talking about this dependency issue. Only now is the public finally becoming aware that that drug can result in dependency. And for some people, they can't get off of it once they begin. And so the caution I would raise is what we think we know, we don't always know. We believe that the opiates were not safe or were not addictive. That's what we were told with OxyContin. The same drug makers that made Oxy and pushed this opiate epidemic on our country, which was a prescribed epidemic and largely still is, was not done in a silo. That drug class is made by the same exact drug makers that makes all the other medications and treatments. And so therefore you need to have a little bit of a dubious eye at times and double check, ask the studies that we're looking at, do we have the full story? Does what's in the study actually reflect the data that drove the study? Because commonly these things are ghost written, unfortunately. This is a thing that I didn't even learn about until I began researching this. But today we're working with the VA. They are planning to written informed consent for psychiatric medications, specifically for antidepressants for up to age 30. We're negotiating this right now. Yeah, but they're committed right now to do written informed consent for veterans up to age 30 when these medications have a warning from the Food and Drug Administration only to up to age 24. But the VA is even acknowledging that risk does not stop at 24. They're adding it for benzodiazepines and opiates when they're prescribed at the same time. What we learned, that's a very dangerous combination from the opiate epidemic. And a lot of the gaps that we're finding is that patients aren't aware, and just had the patient been told, they would be able to go back to the doctor and say, I'm having the side effect, I need help. This is not working really well for me. This is something I'm experiencing. And then you can then go back to the doctor and talk with them, and they can make the adjustment as necessary. But commonly the patient's not identifying this issue, and the doctors aren't even properly trained to identify the side effects. So they're seeing another diagnosis, hence the cascades of prescribing. And so I wish nothing but the best for my Ukrainian comrades, and that you learn from us. Watch what's going on in this larger conversation about medication safety, treatments, mental health. A lot of the things that we thought didn't work, Eastern medicine, there's a lot of merit to that. A lot of merit to a lot of the ways we integrated our Native American warriors when they came back from combat. Bringing them together with retreats and integrating them back together slowly. Those things work. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I just want to thank you all for having me. This issue that we're facing is largely an issue I think we've prescribed. We have a suicide rate for 18 to 34-year-old veterans that's gone from, I forget what the actual rate is, but it's increased by 108% since 2001. And so if everything's working, everything's just fine, we shouldn't have the outcomes that we're seeing. And so I'm here and available anytime. I apologize, I have to run. I was appointed to be chairman of this, or co-chair of this committee that I found out 2 days ago. And so otherwise I was planning to be here all morning, but I'm going to turn over to my colleague, Eric Callie. He'll be able to talk more about hyperbaric oxygen therapy and looking at the alternative modalities that aren't necessarily what we see and hear every day. So thank you all.
Just like Derek had said, my name's Eric Callie. I served in the Marine Corps from 2002 to 2006. Yeah, thank you. And like he was talking about the suicide epidemic, I fell into that category when I got back home. I didn't know how to transition. I didn't know how to adjust. And it took me years, diagnosed with PTSD, had a lot of different issues. It wasn't until about 2019 that my Semper Fi team lead told me about hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatment. Hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatment is the only thing that makes it through the blood barrier in your brain. It's 100% oxygen. You sit in a tube, and I got sent down to Florida. I did 2 hours a day, 5 days a week for a whole month. So 40 hours of hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatment. That is the least invasive treatment I've ever had with the most amount of improvement for that year. And I tell you what, it's a sad shame that our VA does not provide it yet, but we here in Michigan, the VFW, Grunt Style, and all the other veteran service organizations are starting to push for it. 100% oxygen, it actually creates more oxygen in your blood that transfers from your brain down to your lower parts of your body. Right now, it's used for 14 different treatments. PTSD and TBI, or traumatic brain injury, are not on those treatments, and that's what we're so fighting for right now. Right now, the state of Michigan, we have $1.5 million pilot program that will allow 150 to 200 veterans to go through this kind of treatment for free at no cost. And as soon as we get it passed through the Senate and our governor signs it, hopefully by next year, we'll be able to provide that treatment and prove to the VA that traumatic brain injury and PTSD should be on that list of 14, make it 16. There's 14 states in the United States right now that have pilot programs. And why is this important? So when Derek was talking about the 22 veterans that commit suicide a day, and I'm sure in Ukraine it's something similar or maybe even worse because it's pretty bad over there. I believe traumatic brain injury from my era of veterans wasn't even on a spectrum. From 2001 to 2007, traumatic brain injury wasn't an issue. When I served in 2004 in the Sunni Triangle, when improvised explosive devices, our roadside bombs were starting to kill our veterans, just being the vicinity of a certain bomb that goes off damages your brain. And so you have two types of traumatic brain injury. You have the ones that spread it apart and come back together, and then you have the concussion traumatic brain injury. Well, we didn't understand that back then. And for those years, guys were coming back, they were having memory issues, bad headaches, families didn't know what was going on. Why can't you remember this? Why can't you do this? You're forgetting your son at school, you're supposed to pick him up at 3:30, and the veteran couldn't remember because of the traumatic brain injury. Then they started feeling like a hindrance. And I believe part of our 22 veterans that commit suicide a day have traumatic brain injury and didn't know that. Why I'm telling you this is I was misdiagnosed by the VA from 2006 to 2019 until I went down and I had what's called a PET scan. A PET scan is something a lot of facilities in the VA doesn't use. It pretty much shows you the oxygenated blood that goes through your brain that makes it through the rest of your body. And it can also identify traumatic brain injury. And so for 12 years, just like Derek said about the medications, I was on 10 to 12 pills a day, a lot of depressants, a lot of things I should not have been on. And when I got that PET scan and it came back that I had traumatic brain injury, everything came full circle, and I understood why I went from 0 to 100 because the back part of my brain was damaged, or because I couldn't understand things the right way. And why that's important is because for us veterans, knowing what our disabilities are is half the battle, so you can try to fix them or do something about it. I was in inpatient wards. I was thinking about suicide. I almost shot myself in the head, because I couldn't deal with what we had to deal with over there. And I assume that our Ukrainian partners or some of their people are feeling the same way. Well, now that I know I have traumatic brain injury, I can fight against it, which for about 10 years, I didn't even have a clue that I had it. And so things weren't making sense. But when I found that out, now we can do something about it. So I started becoming an advocate for hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatment. When I went back to the VA in Ann Arbor and I went to the TBI center and I told my doctor, I said, here are my scans. I want to keep doing this. The doctor laughed at me and said, you'll never get this through the VA because it's not a proven treatment, part of the 14. That's something we need to change here. And the sooner we change it, the sooner we can make our veterans' lives better. And the sooner that we can start making that 22 number start going down. Because I believe that there are a lot of veterans that have traumatic brain injury from either roadside bombs, shooting big guns next to their head. You know, I shot a 25 millimeter Bushmaster chain gun for 4 years. And when you have that right next to your ear, shooting thousands of rounds, that can cause damage too. It's just like our mortarmen. We're putting the mortars in the tube and they're firing. You know, it's the same thing that Vietnam veterans probably called shell shock. And what's sad is we've been fighting for this for years, and we're going to keep fighting until it happens. But now that we know more about the human brain, we only know maybe 10 to 15% about the human brain. The other 75 to 85%, we have no idea. But as things are evolving, we're starting to find that out. And that's why hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatment is so such a great help. 2 different types of HPOT. You can do hard chambers, which is you slide in a tube, it's made out of acrylics, and it gives you 100% oxygen. But there's also soft chamber hyperbaric oxygen, which is more like your sports guys, your people that play football. They carry it around, they take it to the games, they have them in their homes. That will give you about 24 to 26% oxygen. And to me, any type of higher oxygen levels that get saturated in your blood that help the perfusion to not only heal, but to, heal parts of your brain is better than no help at all. And so with your help and with everybody else, hopefully we can make that something that's possible for every veteran in the United States. So thank you very much.
All I want to know is, since we're doing this with the Ukrainians, is the veterans, are they planning on working with them to not only have it here for all of our veterans, but to make sure that they're also going to be getting the same equipment, the same things of that sort, to help those that are currently going through what they're going through? In other words, as you mentioned, athletes here have it with them. Is there any way we can come up with a way to get that to their veterans on the fields?
Well, I would definitely hope that there would be a way. You can buy soft chambers online. You can get them for a lot cheaper. It's not something that you have to have medical advice to do. I would highly recommend having medical advice go through that. But, maybe someday our government and their government can work together to get that done. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure how that would work out. Hopefully their government will see what we're doing here and try to implement that over there. And the more that they know about hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatment, the better that we can try to help and get this information out to show that it's proven to not only stop suicides, but help veterans survive and live with their disabilities.
If I could just add real quick. I think Ukraine's in a very unique position because right now we're trying to correct a long decades, multi-decades long problem, and that we weren't listening to our soldiers. And that's the reality. And so I think Ukraine has got a very unique opportunity, because when you said, can we get these things for them too? We don't have them for us here. Right, so that's the problem right now. Yeah. I would say that would be entirely our hope.
So if I could, one of the things I was remiss at doing was introducing my board members that are here, and I do so because I think it confirms the commitment that Clinton Township has to veterans in this issue. But Julie Matuzik, trustee, and then Dr. Mike Aiello, who is our new treasurer. And as you are speaking about this hyperbaric chamber and the oxygen, I'm kind of leaning over to Mike and saying, how does that help? Well, like, what does oxygen? So if you could just, I think, speak to that, that would be great.
So when you sit in that chamber, that 100% oxygen gets through your body. And so what it does is it oxygenates the blood that pretty much heals your body and goes throughout every limb of your body. It starts in your brain housing group. So with traumatic brain injury, first week that I sat in that HBOT, I started noticing that my anxiety, my PTSD started lessening just little by little. My sleep started improving. By week 2, I could definitely notice a change in the way I was thinking, the way my brain housing group, my headaches were getting a little bit less. But by week 3, that's when I really started noticing the difference, after I had about 20 to 30 hours of the HBOT. And by week 4, my wife looked at me and she said, "You're the guy I saw 10 years ago." And, coming from extreme anxiety, PTSD, getting headaches and just not being myself, because that oxygenated blood. Now, granted, this isn't a treatment that's going to cure you. Right. This is a treatment that shows, it will keep helping you for about 6 months to a year, but it's something that you have to keep doing over time. And that's the issue that we're having, because 100% oxygen, it's not like pharmaceutical companies where it makes millions of dollars, right? There is no money in HBOT. And that's why, when the new drug comes on the market, it maybe takes 3 months, 6 months, however long, and then they make billions of dollars on it. HBOT is, like I said, the least invasive treatment I ever had, with the most amount of improvement, because as it started healing the brain and I got that oxygenated blood, that was pretty much healing those parts that were damaged. After about a year, those start falling back down and getting worse. And so because you have to keep doing that treatment, it's kind of costly. So the VA looks at it and everybody else in America, well, how much is this going to cost us to have our guys go do this? It should never be a money issue. We're a 0.5% of America that fought for our countries. We should have the treatments that we rightfully deserve for the disabilities that we incurred while we were in combat. And so I don't know if you can help elaborate on his question a little bit better than I can, but you being a doctor, you could probably explain it a little better from a combat vet like myself.
Good morning, everybody. So I'd like to just share a little bit. Cancer, as we all know, is probably the most scariest disorder we have in this country and probably in a lot of other countries as well. And they spend trillions and trillions of dollars on medications, treatment, and we still really are in the baby stages of trying to find solutions to this. But what the medical profession fails to recognize is mental health conditions. I call them the silent cancers of society. Depression is so unreal. Many of us probably sitting in this room have depression. We don't even realize it. And that stems into suicidal conditions. And what's happened in the medical profession is, like you just stated, there's not a lot of money being made in preventative care. There's other treatments called chelation therapy, which is done through, through your veins with minerals and supplements that actually can pull out the toxins and bring your body back to life. This oxygenation you're talking about, what it really does is it increases the blood flow to all the venous capillaries and everything. And when it does that, it does a CO2 exchange and brings all these nutrients and minerals to your body, bringing your body back to life. And it's sad that our medical profession, or our government, I should say, is turning a blind eye to a lot of these treatments that many of us need, but yet we can't get the care because they just don't see a moneymaker for it. So I think there's states like Florida and other states out in the west side of the country, they do a lot of these type of treatments and modalities. We need to expand the scope of practice in Michigan for mental health care. I really think that's where we need to focus and get the state legislators and senators to really draft some great bills so all of our families can get these treatments at a very fractional cost. That's all I got to say. Thank you very much for your time.
And so on that note, House Bills 5456 and 5457, those are our hyperbaric oxygen chamber bills. Like I said, it just got passed through the House. So now we're coming up with a companion bill that will go through the Senate, but we need all of our senators on board because without that bill will never pass. We need to be state number 15 doing these trials because what we're doing with these trials is showing the government that traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress and mental health disorders should be proven treatments for hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatment. So that way our Medicare, Medicaid, and our insurances will cover it. Because right now, if I were to go and try to use my Medicare, Medicaid to get hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatment, they would turn me down. They wouldn't let me use it for that. And so without it being a proven treatment, we can't get the help that we need. And so with your help and with our communities and our state of Michigan, we need to convince our senators to do such that. We need to convince them to not only write the companion bill, but get it passed through the Senate as soon as possible so we can start this pilot program to start ensuring that our veterans have the help that we so rightfully need.
I should say before making other comments that the purpose or the way that this visit came into being was that David had been in contact with people in Ukraine for years now, even before the war. And we came up with an idea last fall that we get a team together and go visit to see how Ukraine is doing in different parts of the country and the things they're using to take care of their veterans and their veterans' families. And we went for 2 weeks, and I met most of the people that are here now, so did David. And it was impressive that while the war is going on, they are in a process of doing things that took us years to get to. They're way ahead of us in terms of timing, I would have to say. And so having them here now, and we had two other younger veterans with us, and a professor from Washington State. So we were a team of 5. We went to Lviv and Odessa and Kyiv, and we met with about a dozen different types of groups that are doing everything from dealing with PTSD to dealing with prosthetics. And the tremendous advances they've made in some of these areas are truly amazing. But the problem is, like with prosthetics, as well as they can do it, they can only handle about, I think it was 120 at a time, and there are over 85,000 people who have lost limbs in Ukraine. So the obvious thing is that we want to share information and continue contact, form an association and a partnership, and try to get our younger veterans involved with them so it continues beyond us Vietnam veterans. And you're going to do introductions of the Ukrainians, so I just wanted to mention who our team was putting this together. It was David and me. David came up with the big idea, and I said, okay, I'll help. And then Paul Palazzolo, the chapter president, and our chapter agreed to participate. Gary Purcell and Chapter 154 agreed to participate. And we had other people helping, like Darcy McConnell, who's our PR person. I'm surprised she's not here today, but she helped very well get the message out. And I need to say before we go any further that we also had another team member, Randy Wright from Chapter 9. And Randy was a key player in terms of us getting the documents we needed to get to them to be able to come here. And Randy was in the middle of helping with that when he had a heart attack and passed away. So we'll be having his funeral on Thursday. Friday. I'll be there. It's on my calendar. I'll follow it. And David's staying for that. So in Randy's memory, we carry on. And I'll let David now introduce the other team.
Check. I want you to meet our group. So I would ask all of them to stand. The 5 of them that are sitting here, please stand and be recognized, because Andre is to your far right here. They will tell you what they're doing now and what they did in the war, to the extent that they want to share that. Andre is from Lviv now and is at the Ukrainian Catholic University, which we do a lot of work with, by the way. Fabulous organization and university. Pavlo is down from Odessa, Zambrara, and he's next to Andre, and he was into the infantry. He also, in addition to the infantry work in combat, he was into drones. He operates drones, and now he teaches drones, and he's an interesting person to listen to. You'll enjoy him as well. And then next to Andre is, let's see, oh yes, excuse me, Eugene Clemenko, excuse me. He's also from this very famous brigade down in Odessa. It's called the 39th Brigade, and they do all kinds of wonderful things. One thing I should say here is that we raised some money last year, over $110,000, just fundraising from our friends and family, and we gave out grants, small little grants, $5,000 to $10,000 to different organizations that I got to know over the 4 or 5 years I've been going down during the war and talking to people in Ukraine. These are Ukrainian NGOs, non-governmental organizations, who are doing the therapy for people who have war trauma. And the 39th Brigade in Odessa was doing the most, and they were doing it through volunteer work, not getting very much support, as I understood it. So we gave them a little bit of money, and they put it into a camp that they have that's now expanded and giving services to not only veterans, but their spouses and their children as well. So it's just a family unit. It's a really smart approach to take to this. So Eugene is been very active in that. Is you say Eugene in Ukrainian is Yenheni, right? Yevheny? Yenheny. So excuse my English. So next to Yevheny is his wife, Larissa, another Larissa. There you go, with a Y. YSA at the end. But Larissa is also working in something called Care Service, CARE, and she does fabulous work working with our veterans and their spouses and children and making sure they get the care they need and expanding that opportunity. So, Larissa, it's really wonderful to see you. We've been traveling together now, of course, in Washington. Now we came here by way of Cincinnati, believe it or not, because our flights were canceled yesterday. So we spent a lot of time together in the airports and on plane. And then, in addition to Larissa, can I see? Oh yeah. Gleb. Gleb is also at Ukrainian Catholic University, but he runs the program out of Kyiv, whereas Andre is working and heads it in the university, and then of course in Lviv. But Gleb is like Eugene. Has been in this war since 2014. They fought in Luhansk and Donbass and those areas, and then Eugene was actually in Mariupol, and Gleb he's a medic, and he'll tell you his story, but he's out there saving people, bringing them out of the field. He's been doing that for 8 years now, and he's a fascinating guy with an interesting story. Interestingly, Andre and Gleb are writers, and they've written books, and I'm reading Gleb's book right now about his notes to his daughter while in the war. It's really wonderful, and I'm looking forward to reading Andre's book. So they are interesting people. I mean, they're in heavy combat. And as I will say in my remarks, I guess I'm saying them right now, their courage, their knowledge, their resilience is unbelievable. And what they have done. And they're not only doing it for Ukraine, but they're doing it, as we know, for all people who love democracy as opposed to autocracy. They've experienced, and their relatives have experienced living under a dictatorship. A dictatorship, by the way, speaking of drugs, I'll let them tell that story. So anyway, I wanted them to be recognized. I wanted you to recognize them and support them. And we'll hear from first Andre, and then we'll ask Pablo to speak, and then we'll go and we'll maybe get our leaders from the 2 Vietnam veteran posts. So, Andre, please come up and say a few words.
Thank you. You know, the worst thing after the war, I think, it's to be alone. And it's, for me, a big inspiration to see you together after many years. And it's, I hope, my veterans community, our veterans community, has only a little more than 1 year. So I hope after many years, our veterans community in Ukraine will be together as you today. So thank you for this. I would like to start from a fairy tale, a very famous fairy tale fantasy book, Lord of the Ring. You know, there is one moment when Frodo, who is a symbol of just a little man who has not any power, he said that, why did this war happen with me? Why this war not happened earlier or later? Because I was not born for war. I must just dance. with my friend, I must just get married, raise my children, and just to be happy. But for what? Gandalf answers that we cannot choose time when to born, but we can choose how to live this life, this time which chose us. So in 2022, when full-scale invasion of Russia started, I chose how to live time which chose me. I, as a million others, men and women in Ukraine, joined to the army first of Ukraine. And I didn't want this war, I didn't like it, but I don't have a choice, so I had to defend my home. Before that day, I was 25 years old, I was a PhD student, I worked as a senior financial auditor at PricewaterhouseCoopers, where I should be promoted to team leader in this summer 2022. And what is the most important, in the summer 22nd year, I must get married. But I put all this on hold due to full-scale invasion of Russia, due to full-scale invasion of orcs, of slaves, and of empire. My service was full of many awful and amazing things. I saw many dead bodies, awful injuries. I lost my nearest friends. I was participated in counterattacks where we liberty our lands, our cities, our villages, and where I saw the highest proof of humanity, heroism, and highest honor. And where, on this free land, this liberty land, I found murdered by Russian troops bodies of civilian men, women, dead, tortured, and raped bodies of children. All of them were killed just because they are Ukrainians. I served not so long for our days, only 1.5 years, and in 2023 I returned home. I returned home to try to rebuild my civilian life because after the war I was not sure who I am and who I should be after all that I saw in the war. It changed me to my core, and what seemed important before the war, now at this moment seemed trivial. The best way to explain what I'm feeling is to quote one of our veteran students of my community of Ukrainian Catholic University. When I found myself among the students, it seemed strange to me because they were all thinking and afraid of deadlines. And just yesterday, I was afraid that I wouldn't live to see the morning. For 2 years, I learned how to live anew. I had to find my footing again. In this war, I lost 23 my nearest friends. And when we lost in our team the first one, we decided that we need to save some moment, and we had a flag with signature with all of rest. But here is many signatures of my brothers who already is dead, was killed by Russia. So when I come back to my civilian life, first of all, it was important to me to honor their memory. So I wrote the book. And it was a fantasy book, you know, about the knights and swords and shields, where some of my friends become the main heroes who fight against the evil, who fight against the empire of slaves. My friends were gone in our world, and I couldn't resurrect them. So I decided to give them a second life in a better world, in the world in my book. I found with my wife, my small veteran publishing house, which published other Ukrainian authors. I quit my job, my PricewaterhouseCoopers, to develop my own veteran business. And this was how 2 years of my civilian life passed. And one day, UKU, Ukrainian Catholic University, invited me to work with veterans. At that moment, I already passed some way of returning, of reintegration. So I decided that I could be useful, help other veterans on their ways. So I accepted the invitation and became head of the Office of Veterans and Their Families in the best Ukrainian university, Ukrainian Catholic University. We cover a huge number of veterans' needs in their reintegration journey. We created medical private clinic because, in Ukraine we have free medical support, but sometimes it's not enough. So we also have psychology support. And what is the most important and unique in Ukraine, we have spiritual support. Our goal is to reach 10,000 veterans by 2030 by our services, including education, professional development, counseling. We already have 1,015 alumni, veterans on our short-term courses. And you should understand that this is only alumni because we have limited resources and we have cases where we have program where 800 veterans apply for a training program where we have only 50 places. We work with employee because, many employees afraid to hire veterans because they all think that veterans are crazy. So we working with the stigma. We're working with employees to make effective policies of support veterans. We motivate them to hire veterans and help veterans to find their jobs for skilling them. We're working closely with the territorial community, with the government to help them to develop effective veterans policies in their community. Because in Ukraine, we will have in the nearest future near 2 million of veterans. It is near 6% of all population. We help veterans to build their own businesses, support on all their ways. We built a strong community, as you have here, who already started to change our country, community of leaders of veterans. So today, I am here in the United States of America to learn deeply the best practices which you have. To find partners for collaboration, for future collaboration in our future projects. And of course, it's very important to say thank you all for your support of Ukraine. And in the end, I would like to say that 250 years ago, a small country in the North America won the war against the biggest empire of that time, Great Britain. These people show the whole world what it really means freedom. This country, the United States of America, showed the whole world a different way of life without kings and without tyranny. Today, in another part of the world, another small country, Ukraine, is in the war against the biggest modern empire of our days, against empire of tyranny and empire of slaves. 250 years ago, you all and your fathers were biblical David, who won against a huge Goliath. Today, Ukraine is a biblical David. And when Moscow, today Ukraine is a biblical David, and you are a witness, you will become a witness when Goliath, when Moscow will fall down. The writing is on the wall for Moscow, and in the nearest future, the Moscow will burn out to the ground. So thank you, and Slava Ukraini!
Slava Ukraini!
Greetings, everybody. Thank you for having us. My name is Pavlo. I'm 26 years old. I joined the 39th Marine Brigade when I was 21. in the beginning of 2022. I did infantry for 1.5 years, and then did some combat application stuff with UAVs, FPVs, so many drones. Mostly operated in the south. I'm also one of the members and one of the co-founders of the Ukrainian Federation of Military UAV Pilots. So we're a non-profitable organization whose goal is to mainly give veterans job opportunities, because I've encountered the issue that for example, I'm 26. I joined when I was 21. I luckily had some previous civilian work experience, so it was easier to me to assimilate with the society again, to be a part of the society again. But most of my comrades, and many of them were 18. They just turned 18 when they went into war. And we were a part of the assault unit, so everything they know is how to kill, how to fight, how to take positions. So not many civilian jobs need people who can do a compound assault, unfortunately. Yeah. So most of our skills are not really applicable for civilian life. That's why our main goal is to give them job opportunities so they can use their skills, their understanding of how battlefield works, how to set up operations, how to work with those technologies, and they can work with different manufacturers to have a good salary, to find themselves in life, and most importantly, to find the community, because as I understood and felt myself, that there are few people outside of the military that you even want to share those experiences with, and it's easier to do that with people who saw the same stuff, who experienced the same stuff. And most importantly, what I would like to say is me and my comrades, Evgeny, he's also with 39th Marine Brigades, and he's an amazing guy. He's one of the founders of our patronage service, which is a amazing organization, because I never understood how so few people could do so many. They've already treated more than 2,000 soldiers who have been wounded. They help with psychological recovery. They try and experiment with different methods of recovery. They do hypotherapy, so they're using horses for therapy, dog therapy, meditation. They do massage therapy, different cryo chambers. So they experiment with all of stuff to do a short-term recovery for the soldiers, so they could go take a rest and they can go back and take part in combat again. It's the only program in Ukraine which does all of that stuff in such a short term. So it's a 5-day program, and it allows a soldier to decompress. Even that little time helps a bit to find new motivation, to feel like a person again. And that's, metaphysically speaking, that lessens the death toll on our soldiers, because you don't feel invulnerable anymore. But the problem is, the longer you are in combat nonstop, the less you care about something happening around you, because you get used to it, you get numb. So luck, in my honest opinion, luck plays a big part in combat. But as I see it, luck is a fluid that tends to run out at some point. So taking risks all the time won't get you anywhere. And these guys help people rejuvenate psychologically, to find purpose again. And they try and do their best with so little they have. And that's really motivating for me. It's an honor to serve in that brigade, because I know if I'm ever going to be wounded, if I'm going to go in that program, they're going to take the best care of me. So that's all about the community. Yeah, so thank you for your attention. Thanks a lot.
Very good. Excuse me. I was looking out into the audience, and I saw somebody that I've known since the 3rd grade. And Leo and I went to St. Veronica's School in East Point, Michigan. East Detroit, exactly. and I knew Leo's family and his brother and really very well. And after Leo went into service, I went into the service, Leo got out, and I got out, and we decided to have a political career. And then he was elected to the state legislature, where he did really fabulous work. And he continues to do fabulous work, because today he's a member of 154, like I am. And then as a member of 154, Leo does funerals for members. He's part of the honorary guard. And he seems like he's doing them almost every day. So he's quite a devoted guy. So Leo, stand up and say hello. Leo Lalonde. Okay. So we've had two speak very eloquently, I might add. And I would like to ask people if they have any comments, questions that they would like to pose to Pavlo or to Andrei. Yes, sir.
As the Ukrainian forces, do you see a lot of the Russian soldiers giving up? Or, we see so much on our media about this. And the Russians, at the beginning, they went to other countries because it's unjust war. Or how is that going, where the will of the Russian soldiers versus Ukraine? Can you speak on that?
Unfortunately, personally, I don't think so. So by being brainwashed for more than 20 years, people voluntarily become affected by that. Really, yeah, because propaganda has spread so far, and they really believe what they see. They think of their president as a immortal figure who is always right no matter what. And it's not only about the older generation, but unfortunately the younger people and those who go to the universities. Some of them really, when given an interview, they say that they dream of going to war, which is, for me, is crazy. Because even though when I joined I was 21, that wasn't a matter of choice, because we had to defend our land. But for them, there is a choice, and they still want to do it. They want to take my home, our home. So I think that, unfortunately, the percentage of Russians who don't want to follow that regime and want to follow those ideas is so slim that it won't make any difference. The Russians which are doing something, they're already fighting for Ukraine in the Russian Freedom Corps and different regiments. One of my best friends died 2 years ago, and he didn't have a Ukrainian passport. He was Russian. Yeah, he was in my unit. So yeah, the number of those people are so small that unfortunately you have to do something really, really big and really, really impactful in order to change the tide. Yeah.
I will add very shortly. You could check what Russians think about war in, for example, in threats. The threats is forbidden in Russia, but they're using VPN. And if you threat anything about this war, you will find many comments from the Russians which support this war. And other case which I met, I was in London, and there was a little boy from the Russia, 14 years, and he said that when he grew up, he going back to Russia and joined to the army for killing people.
Good morning. Slava Ukraini. I'm a Ukrainian-American veteran. I served 20 years in the U.S. military. And I just want to say that yesterday, we lost a staunch supporter of Ukraine, Senator Lindsey Graham. And while many of us, it's commendable that we give aid to Ukraine through various organizations, I think it's also equally important that we write to our politicians on a regular basis, our senators, our congressmen, and ask them to continue to support Ukraine. Thank you.
Listen, we're going to move on, and I'll let Jack handle the introductions to two really special guys who are here with their troops, Paul and Gary.
Paul Palazzolo is the president of VVA Chapter 9 in Detroit. He's been with the chapter for decades, like all of us, and he has been very helpful in forming this and bringing our friends from Ukraine. And he'd like to say a few words.
It would be very fruitful for me to say anything about what you're doing over there. God bless you. The only thing I could say is that Chapter 9 will support you in any way we can. We'll write those letters to those congressmen to see that you get everything that you need to continue this fight. There's a few things that I've learned from this forum we've had today. One is to try to welcome those troops back. We weren't welcome back. You're fighting a war. Give every man that is fighting this war a hug and try to work them into civilian life. It's very important that you prepare them before they leave the military to get prepared to go back into civilian life, both men and women, because the women are taking care of the kids, and it's very important that you carry on that next generation. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
And Paul's counterpart for this effort is Gary Purcell from Chapter 154.
Thanks, Jack. It's an honor to be here amongst you. To my Ukrainian brothers and sisters, welcome and God bless you all. Our chapter will be behind you 100% all the time, along with my fellow brothers and sisters of our chapter and all veterans of the United States of America who has any compassion at all for your fight for freedom for your country. If anybody knows something about freedom, it's Vietnam veterans. Because we fought in a war that them people didn't even know what freedom was. That was a political war started by politicians and sent young men, and mostly young men and some women, over to fight a war when there was a draft, and it's vastly different from your war. We were treated not too well when we came back home, but we found a way, like you are right now, to bind together to make improvements to the United States of America Veterans Administration. Because if it wasn't for Vietnam veterans, the veterans of the United States of America today wouldn't have what they have. We fought for that. We fought and demanded that they do that, and we were in their face all the time. We are continually in their face. Our chapter has been in existence since 1986. We've been fighting from 86, and we fight today for burn pits. We fight for the veterans today, and we're going to fight for you because you deserve our just cause of fighting and having your back, brother. So God bless you and welcome home, and may God bless you all, and God bless your country. Thank you.
And to help explain part of the structure that we have in Michigan is Emily Rissman. She's with the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency. And one of the things that I think she'll mention, because I'm bringing it up now, is that we've had 5 annual veteran summits that covered everything that goes on. And there's a way that we can share that information with the Ukrainians, but I'll let Emily tell you more.
Thank you, Jack. As he said, my name is Emily Rissman. I work for the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency. I am one of our division administrators for our internal operations and memorial affairs. In addition to that, I am also still currently serving in the Army Reserves. I am a major military police officer who has gone to Afghanistan and Guantanamo Bay to support Operation Enduring Freedom for those efforts. So I get a little bit more of the education spiel regarding what the Michigan Veteran Affairs Agency is and how it plays into the veteran structure not only in terms of a government entity, but just the larger sphere as well. So the Michigan Veteran Affairs Agency is still a relatively young state department. We were only formed in 2013, and I was fortunate to be able to join that team in 2014, shortly upon my return from Afghanistan. So with that, we have a very interesting mission compared to other state departments. We were really stood up to help be the central coordinating entity for veteran organization, veteran efforts, good, bad, or indifferent. Michigan, prior to that, did not do the best job at the state level to coordinate veteran efforts across our entire state. We were ranked last in terms of veterans being connected to their disability ratings and those benefits that can come back to support those efforts within your individual homes. So one of the first things that we did is to really build those relationships with partners at all levels. We definitely did not come in saying, hey, we're the government. We're here to kind of take over. We really much took a different approach. And I think that was very beneficial because we were staffed by predominantly veterans that knew the importance of communicating with those frontline individuals, the veteran service organizations. We have a slew of really good nonprofits across the state, the county level governments, and then the federal entities with both those in the healthcare side as well as the benefits side, in addition to our cemeteries administration. So with that, we really focused on bridging those gaps and breaking down the silos, whether they were based on a geographical area, a certain area of benefits. You have folks that are focused on education, you have folks that are focused on healthcare, really to bring about what we called the no wrong door approach. If a veteran walked into a service provider or a nonprofit or a local post, and they are having those conversations about what is going on with their lives, is that those individuals are now connected and we have those networks. So you might be able to help them with perhaps getting the camaraderie, getting connected to the benefits that they deserve with disability compensation. But then they bring up the struggle with finding employment. Maybe it's because they don't necessarily have those skill sets for the job that they want to do today, which might be vastly different than the job they did while they were in service. And we have a lot of wonderful organizations, both at the state and local level, that can help provide those services to those veterans to get them reintegrated into the communities, to give them those skill sets and those jobs. Whether it's specific training, whether it's certain tools or equipment that they may need for those dream jobs that they have. In addition, we also work really heavily with our secondary education, our universities, community colleges, the trade schools across the state as well, to help bridge those conversations with our educators and how to communicate with veterans and how to bring them into, that student population. I apologize, I don't remember which one of you mentioned that effort, but yeah, your veterans coming back, you're going to be 23, sometimes older, sitting with 17, 18-year-old, and it's definitely a different mindset and a different environment. But the amount of knowledge and growth that you can provide those students is phenomenal, and it's taking that same mindset to the employers as well. Yes, infantrymen and infantry women, you have a very unique skill set, but you also are phenomenal individuals when it comes to being planning individual operations, being that prepared, having to make sure that your battle buddies have all of their equipment, know the mission. Those are all very important skill sets that are truly applicable for a majority of the jobs. And having those conversations and educating the employers about that and trying to shift that cultural and sometimes stereotypical stigma that comes with hiring veterans or veteran students is something that we really work closely with our partners across a whole bunch of avenues to break down. We also work very heavily within the mental health and suicide prevention space. We have a really robust group where we are trying to address not only the current urgent needs that veterans have, but also some of those upstream approaches to try and prevent or mitigate those risks once they come down to those efforts. So we have a vast array of organizations that are really involved in that, with everything from the hyperbolic chambers that they were talking about, the medications that we are heavily involved in, definitely support in the healthcare administration to taking a larger look at that, to have those conversations. We are very much advocating for those efforts. One of the things that we have that is very unique to Michigan, if you've ever heard of the Michigan Veterans Trust Fund, if you have not, I highly encourage you all to look into it. And I think this could be a very good opportunity for our partners in Ukraine to take a similar model. So we were very fortunate to have that stood up several decades ago. And it's to support emergent needs. So unfortunately, life happens. There's things that happens. I mean, just this past year, the floods, the ice storms, there's a lot of things that we cannot predict, and we might not necessarily have the financial foundation to overcome that. So this organization, our Veterans Trust Fund, you have it at the county level and you have it at the state level, depending on your financial assistance needs, can come in and provide that support to alleviate some of those hardships that those financial things can happen. And I'm not saying it's just simply natural disasters they support as well. Utility rates have been driving up pretty drastically the last few years. So helping folks with utilities, getting transportation to take folks to work, to take their kids to school, to take their themselves or their families to medical appointments, so we can help with car repairs. There's a vast variety of support that entity does provide. So again, if you have not heard of them, please Google it later. Can also provide that information as well. But it is a really good organization. With all of that, been talking about networking, and to Jack's not so subtle hint, is we do an annual summit, and we call it a leadership summit, but it's self-described, self-proclaimed leaders. If you feel you are a leader in the veteran community, we would love for you to attend and participate in our summits. The theme kind of changes every single year. This past year, we focused on state benefits. So what all of the different departments in the state provide. So we had Laura, who does all of the licensing. They offer some incredible credentialing where either the veterans or spouses might have a certain credential in a different state. So we are able to accept that when they return to Michigan, which is a really great program. And then you have your labor and economics opportunity folks who really help with veterans overcome those barriers with that effort. And we do have a nice digital package that I will provide to you all so that our Ukrainian partners can take that back with them. And it has kind of a breakdown. You'll have all of the slide decks from the summit from this year, as well as some other informational items that you can take and read and absorb, and definitely can answer further questions later. Rather intentional or not, I think it was nice setup putting the officer and the government official at the very end so I can wrap it up quickly. But I do want to give chance to answer any questions that you all may have, as well as the individuals down there. So thank
Okay, now we're going to get our other three Ukrainian brothers and sister up here to speak as well, and they have a really interesting messages to share with you today, as did Andre and, of course, Pablo. So, Gleb, you want to come on up and say a few words and talk about your career and what maybe your hopes and dreams are for Ukraine?
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much to this possibility to be there and meet with you and change experience. For us, it's very helpful, and not just change experience, but get your experience, getting experience from you, because we so far just entered to that hard situation where war coming to the Ukraine, but we absolutely understand that after a while we will have a lot of consequences, like a lot of veterans with psychological problem and so on, so on. So we need to deal somehow with that one. And in this subject, you have more experience than we, and we would like to get it. So if told about my personal story, I have the medical experience. I graduated from Ternopil State Medical University, and medicine, it's a field where you quickly learn that every decision and every weakness in training and every gap in the system has human consequences. And when Russia war against Ukraine, which is began in 2014, not in 2022, as a lot of people thinking, I became a volunteer medics. I go to the front line, provide the medical care, and provide the medical supplies like IFACs to the guys who served in the army. And then I realize that my knowledges, which I'm already getting in medical university in Ukraine, not suitable for tactical situations. So I need to learn the tactical medicine. And I start to learn it from international instructors who came mostly from the United States and has war experience in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other warm places around the world. The very funny is that in 2014 I started learn from these guys at 2016 or 2017, I'm not remember exactly. I was invited to the headquarters of the United States Army in the Europe to teach the other guys. So for the few years we get as much experience. So we became, and me personally became, an instructor who teach other guys in Ukraine and abroad in Europe also. And for me it was very interesting how the educational system, medical educational system works in the United States. And I come to the United States and start to learn the emergency medical system in Massachusetts, in a National EMS Institute, which is training center for the EMS personnel here in the USA. And then come back to Ukraine, and it gave me a point of view how it run in the United States and how the medicine and medical education from my experience run in Ukraine. So I have both of them inside me, and I was invited by the Ministry of Health to be advisor of the Ministry of Health. And at that time, Minister of Health was Uliana Suprun. So she invited me to be advisor and grow up and transform the Ukrainian EMS system. And part of that, transforming the medical education system in Ukraine. And then February 2022 came, And when Russia launched a full-scale invasion, I understood that I could not stay alone, and I have no other moral choice except go inside the army and start to defend my country. I served as a military medic on a different level. So the first time I served on a small group, on a real front line, we call it zero line. And then I get experience and start to be medic of bigger group, at bigger. And sometime I was like a chief of the medics of a small medical group. But in summer of 2022, I was seriously wounded during my evacuation. I go to grab the guys, my body and arms, and provide the medical care, but Russian missiles was target me, so I get the pretty hard wounded. And I was evacuated to the frontline hospital and then other hospital which is located in Dnipro city, named Mechnikov Hospital. And the first period of the time, doctors cannot say me, am I walk again? Because it looks like I'd never walk again. And I was fully immobilized a few months, and then I returned to normal life due to my good shape before my service in the army, because I was a runner and swimmers and take part on the marathon and the triathlon. So I was in good shape, and it helped me to return to the normal life. But when I was in a hospital, I realized that maybe I will not walk again. So it means that I need to be effective as much as I can. I have my brain, I have my arms, so I need to do something with that. And I need to not go down, but grow up my level, updated my level. So the best idea was to go to enter to the university, and I have to choose which university it will be. And a few years before that, a few years before that, I was in Ukrainian Catholic University in Lviv, and realized that I never can be a student of that university. It's absolutely impossible for me. It's a line up to the sky. So when I was in hospital, I understand that this is a great idea, because I need to achieve that much line. That's absolutely impossible for me. So I broke my day for small pieces, approximately 1 hour, which consists from 40 minutes I prepare to the exams, and 20 minutes rest, read some books or do my gyms, because I need to be in good shapes, even if I cannot walk. So I go through exam from the hospital bed, and after the 2 years I get a master degree from Ukrainian Catholic University, which became for me like my second home. When I returned to the army after my hospital period, I continue study, and sometimes I go to the university facility from the front line. It can takes about 10 or 12 hours driving across whole Ukraine to get into the university. So this university was very important for me, became very important for me. Before that, I'm also getting other master degree in Kyiv-Mogila Academy, which is located in Kyiv. So the university in Lviv, Ukrainian Catholic University, became my third university, my third master degree. And after that, I realized that I have experience how to be a medic, how to be a patient. Then after time, I realized that I'm not good enough to serve in army, and I get the disability status, and then I get experience of a veterans. I'm also supposed to transfer from the military serving to the normal civilian life. It was pretty hard for me. On one hand, it was very strange for me because I have a lot of friends and backgrounds and so on, which I imagine will help me to easy transfer from the military to the civilian, but in really not. And I realized how it can be hard to the other guys who don't have as much experience as me. So far I have experience like medics, like medical managers working on a government, how to be a patient on a hospital, how to be a veterans, how to be an educator. So this is a different part of me which helped me to connect these whole parts, to bring some programs and some possibilities to the other veterans. And I would like to do it in a Kyiv office of the Ukrainian Catholic University to create program and also to impact to the government, because we have a close relation with Ministry of Health, with Ministry of Veteran Affairs, with other ministries. So to build the program and build the system which will be human-centered and veteran-centered. Because so far we have the system where different services, government services like social service, medical service, rehabilitation, and other, very fragmented. So it's like a small pieces, and veterans supposed to go to the different pieces, go to the different places, go to the different directions, and bring it together in a brain and understand what he's supposed to do. So it's not clear sometimes, and not easy sometimes, but it should be the different ways. So my goals, first of all, to work with veterans and to teach veterans and to help veterans to transfer from the military service to the normal civilian life. But the second one is to teach the local community service, how to deal with the veterans, how to build the politics, how to build the system in a local level, which will help veterans to transfer to the normal civilian life. And the other one, it's educated the medics how to deal with the veterans. Because yes, we have a lot of medics, we have a lot of medical facility, but they don't have a lot of experience, sometimes zero experience, how to deal with a person who have experience of the war. It's not just veterans, it's also a civilian who have experience of the war. So we need to teach these medics how to deal with the veterans. And there is absolutely other directions, other things which we supposed to do. And also, we have to understand that veterans, it's not just a person who come from the war. In Ukraine, we have a very shortage of the personnel, very shortage of the people. A lot of people go to the war. A lot of people died. And we have a shortage of people who will work after the war was finished. Will finish it, sorry. So it means that veterans is also a source to the society, to be a normal part of the society, to go to the work, to pay taxes and be a part of the society. So we need to grow up our veterans and prepare the veterans to the normal civilian life. So it's pretty complicated goals. a lot of things which we supposed to do in a medical direction, it's in a social direction, in a psychological support, how to deal with PTSD, and so on, so on, so on. And we would like to do it in a Kiev center of the Ukrainian Catholic University. Our university already have a great program for the veterans, but sometimes it's easy to be in Kiev because Kiev is the capital and a lot of things done in the Kiev, so we need to be close to the ministry and to the other government places. And also a lot of veterans located close to the Kiev area, so we need to deal with these veterans. So we have a lot of work in the future, and I'm happy to be there and listen to you and understand what was your experience, what was your challenges, and what was your mistakes, which we can learn and not do the same mistakes and do the best for our veterans. Thank you so much.
I think Lee made a really interesting point that sometimes it's not understood by us here in the States. In Ukraine, they are veterans, but they are also soldiers. They can be called up at any time. In fact, we had a woman who was going to be on the panel, and at the last minute she was called to duty, so she couldn't come over. So they serve as veterans. They've had, a couple of these guys have had 8 years already. Pablo has had 5 years. They've been around a while, but they can be called up when they're needed, and they have been called up and have been needed. So I just wanted to clarify that. So why don't we have Larissa and Henny? Henny, would you want to come up as well and speak to the group, and then we can take the comments to Glebe and to both of them as well, and then we'll end it. Okay? So would you like to please come on? Both of you can come up together. They're husband and wife, by the way. Okay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My English is not very good. I need to write for my phone. My name is Evgeny. I am from 39th Marine Brigade of Ukraine. I want to tell you a story, my story. In 2014, I joined the Azov battalion. That's where I first saw how patronage service work, how it helps wounded soldiers and the families of the fallen. In 2016, on a combat mission, we walked into an ambush. We were surrounded. One of my guys was hit very badly. He died in my arms. After that, I ended in a psychiatric hospital in Kiev myself. That's when I understood one thing. Soldier needs support not only in a battle, but after too. In 2022, when the full-scale invasion began, I joined the 126th Brigade, which later became the 39th Marine Brigade. When our first wounded and our first fallen came, I remember everything. We had nothing like the service I'd seen in Azov. Wounded soldiers, family of the fallen, families of the mission. All them left alone with the pain and with paperwork nobody helped them carry. I could not ignore it. So I built build a patronage service inside the brigade. My wife Larissa was me from day one. We have different projects. We have different projects. Let me tell you about a few. We go to the wounded in a hospital in the first hardest day. This year's alone 5,000 soldiers. Navy camp. A week of rehabilitation for guys strayed from the front line. Rehabilitation through action. We two guys on prosexis and climb Goverla. He highest mountain in Ukraine together. Everyone who went through Navy camp went back to duty. But they come back different. Many of them started dreaming again, started planning their life again. A man who was lying in depression 6 months ago stood on the top of mountain. This proof real structural support brings a person back to life. And it can measured. It can be repeated. It can be scaled. I looked for a line in Europe. Some people told me war ended a long time ago. That's were fine. I started to think we had no line. And then I meet David Bonior, Jack Devin, and Circle American veterans. You. They didn't need it explained. They had already lives in it themselves. A different war. The same silent after. I realize we are not alone. We are not alone. You have the kind of experience in veteran care. We have a system tested right now in a real war now. Together, that's real strange. If you're veteran, I don't need to explain much to you. If you work rehabilitation in mental health, we have a lot to share with each other's both ways. And if you simple care, come fin and after this, let's talk. After the victory, Ukraine will need not only a strong army, it will need a system that brings people back to normal life. We are building it. Join us. Thank you.
Maybe I can add something. Well, before I begin, I would like to thank you all for welcoming us here today. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to David Bonior. Really, thank you for believing in our mission and for making this visit possible. It's so far away. It is an honor to be here and to learn from people who have spent decades supporting those who have served. Most importantly, I want to thank every veteran in this room. Your service reminds us that although our countries are separate by ocean, we share the same values, service, sacrifice, and taking care of those who stand beside us. About myself a little bit. I'm from Odessa. My name is Larissa. I'm a volunteer with the patronage service of 39 Marine Brigade, a service we call Turbota, which in English means care. and as assistant to a head of our NGO. So it's like he's doing some military stuff inside the brigade, and we're like a public wing more. How it all began. My story with all of this began the same way I did for many Ukrainian women. In February 2022, my husband left to defend our country, and I stayed with the choice. I could sit by the phone and wait, or I can do something. Well, maybe 1 month, I was still scrolling the news, and I was expected that maybe this war will finish really soon, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. And together with other volunteers, I began helping build the support that stands behind the front line. Humanitarian trips to liberated villages in the Kherson region, celebrations for children, New Year, supplying the brigade. We did a lot of job, and we got to this point that we start easy to grow up, and start with our project that he told already about Navy Camp. It's not the only one project with decompression we did, and we're still doing. We also have VR rehabilitation. It's really something new. When the soldiers and veterans are coming to the office with this virtual reality glasses, let's say that. So, and psychologists are working with them, and they're like changing in their mind. They're showing them again what they pass on the war already, and like changing in their mind that it helps really. Well, the third thing that we are doing also is let's say the care bags. What is care bags? Well, our country only for a year of war realized that there is need of that, but we were the first one who was bringing for the soldiers the things they need. After they were wounded, they were coming and still coming to the hospital without any clothes, the things they need, and in the hospitals they're not giving them what they need: a toothpaste, some underwear, everything. So we were the first in the brigade who was doing that, and we're still doing that because, well, country like system, they are not even noticing that there is need, so they start easy to do that, but still not works okay in the huge system of healthcare. So. Турбинки, що еще? Also, well, I'm always forgetting, I don't know why. Also, we did one climb. It's just one climb for now, but we're gonna do in August. The second one is climbing Hoverla. It's for veterans that they lost their arms, they lost their feet. So it's a big challenge for them, so that they can. It's 2,000 meters mountain. It's the highest top of Ukraine, and it also helps with the rehabilitation for also to coming back them for civil life as well. So we did once. So we have the second one in August, I think, so, or in September. So maybe somebody wants to participate us. Well, also we care about children of fallen and wounded soldiers. So that's families lost their fathers, and so we bringing them to winter camps, also summer camps. This is something educational for them. Also gifts for our children of fallen soldiers, so that like we really care about them. So we don't want them to feel like they're alone, because it's really hard to lose one parent, two parents. It doesn't matter, father or mother. So it's the same.
So what I'll try to convey as fast as possible for the guys is there's not a lot of them. So in total, there's like 5 people doing all of that. So you need to understand that there are a lot of families who have been left without their father due to him being killed in action. And unfortunately, the government isn't really thorough and transparent with all the necessary paperwork that the family needs to file in order to get the necessary payments that they deserve. So they constantly keep contacting the guys, calling them 24/7. They get calls at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning from distraught wives and widows, people who haven't heard from their father for a couple of months or a couple of days. They contact the guys. They do everything in their power. They work nonstop. So the amount of work they have done in terms of helping the wounded, guiding our guys who are on prosthetics on the mountains, guiding them with psychological, physical recovery, experimented with different types of medical treatments, involving different volunteers, because they're just 5 people, and all of the massage therapists, psychologists, rehabilitologists, everybody, they do volunteer work. It's non-profitable. So everybody who feels that that cause is just, they can help. So the thing is, like, they showed such a great example to the whole Marine Corps, the whole Navy, that this project can work, that other Marine brigades send their soldiers to our camps for recovery because they see that that works, that our brigade takes care of its soldiers, of their families. And I cannot express enough how many tasks daily the guys do, because their phones are ringing nonstop. The messages are coming in nonstop. They're trying to set up the guys with great hotels for the resorts, for different rehabilitologists, massage therapists, psychologists, iPod therapy, VR therapy, which guys have mentioned, virtual reality therapy. They put you in a environment which is really stressful for your psyche, and they work on triggers, what triggers you, and then the psychologist tries to rehabilitate you from that point. So they do everything in between and beyond what they can in order to help our guys. And it's amazing because there are so few of them, and they help more than 2,000 guys a year, which most of the help is volunteer help. So yeah, that's where we try to convey the message that it's all about exchanging that experience, because you've been doing that for such a long time already, building that community, helping the guys. And we've just recently started, and we're proud with what we've achieved with little time and resources that we have. So yeah, it's all about communication and working as a whole, because no matter where the veteran served, in which country, we all experience the same feelings being in combat, and most of us feel left out of it, like the aspect of life, the social aspect of life. So it's really important to keep the community alive and keep going. Yeah, so that's what I was trying to add. Thank you.
Very good. I'll kind of try to wrap it up here, because I know you've been sitting a long time, and I appreciate your being here and then staying with us. It's really appreciate that. I just want to make a final couple observations. Number one is Gary talked about this when he was speaking. When a lot of our soldiers from the Vietnam era came home, it was quite a bit different than it was in terms of reception from what Ukrainians are getting today and World War II veterans in our country got when they returned. And so it was a struggle to try to get the attention of the American people about the sacrifice that was made, 58,000 plus the missing, not accounted for. And we had to find a way to get that message out to people. So independently, there were like 3 groups of people that started to work on projects. One of them wanted to get the attention of the American people, so they came up with the idea of building the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. And that was Jan Scruggs, John Wheeler, who is now dead, and Bob Dubeck, who was part of this project that we're working on right now and gave a great presentation of it. They worked hard with the idea They raised the money for it. They organized around it. They stood by the design of it. And they made a huge difference in changing the direction and opening up people's minds in our country. I wrote a book called Vietnam Veterans with two other people, History of Neglect, and that helped in that way as well. But beyond that, we had to change the way laws were being made or not being made in the Congress for Veterans. So I formed, when I got to the Congress, Vietnam Veterans in America. I found 10 other people who were Vietnam veterans like myself, and we formed this organization, and we went and met with the president, Carter, who was a Vietnam veteran. Became Secretary of Veterans Affairs, who was a Vietnam veteran, Max Cleland, triple amputee. And we went to work and got things done, whether it was Agent Orange poisoning, the study on that and compensation for that, or improving the GI Bill so they could get more education, because that had eroded over the years and nothing was being done on it. Hiring practices, giving preference at the federal level to people who were in the veterans in our country and served our country. Went on and on. There's a lot of things we did, but we did something, and that was important. So we were changing things in the halls of Congress. They were changing the attitude in the country. And the third group of people was what Jack and Paul and Gary and so many of you others who are here did, is we formed Vietnam Veterans of America. And that was back in 79 and 80. And it was a very important organization. It was an organization that grew on the outside from virtually a handful of people: Bobby Mueller, John Trezano, Jack Devine, so many others in this room started to come together and said, we're going to build our own organization. And that's what we're dealing with today here. We have 2 chapters out of the 650 that are in existence today around America who have come together and said, we want to help our Ukrainian brothers and sisters because we know what it's like. We've been there before. And I remember I gave a speech at the first convention of Vietnam Veterans of America many decades ago. Maybe, maybe it was 83. So what is that? Almost a half a century ago. And I said at that convention, never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. And it was one of the founding principles that brought us together and banded us together. And it eventually became the motto for the VVA. You can see it on the literature. You can see it on letterhead. To this day, a half a century later, it still is very common to greet a fellow veteran with "Thank you for your service. Welcome home, brother. Welcome home, sister." So, in Ukraine, at 9 o'clock every morning, the sirens go off to let people know that that's a time for them to stop what they're doing, whether they're in school or at work, wherever they are. They stop and they stand and they at attention and they reflect on what this war has cost them and how they have acted as a country together to take on the evil that Putin and his country are now perpetrating for the 5th year. So I think maybe in closing today, it would be good if we all stood and thought about that before we adjourn our meeting. So if you would please stand and think about what you've heard today. Thank you so much.